It's my pleasure to introduce the 41st Mayor, our Arts Mayor of the City of Los Angeles, Mayor Villaraigosa.
I'm not reading the speech. First of all, welcome to City Hall. And let me share with you my gratitude for giving me a shot. I said again and again, and if any of you were at my State of the City the other day, I never, in my wildest imagination, I had a paper route in City Terrace, you know, stone's throw away. I would see City Hall. I didn't know what it was. I was, 7 or 8. I didn't know what City Hall was. It was an iconic building even back then because of Dragnet, but didn't know what it was. Certainly never dreamed of walking into City Hall, much less being the mayor of the city that my grandpa came to 100 years ago. And any successes we've had over the years, we've had because I have really great people. And you mentioned one of them, Olga Garay. And there was a lot of controversy whenever I make a change in leadership. You got somebody that's upset, and I live in a world of upset people. So I do what I think is right. And I brought her on, and I remember interviewing her and the dynamism coming from Miami and New York and coming from philanthropy. And I said, I really, really liked her. And I'll tell you, when you look at the fact that she's raised some $25 million to augment what is a very small cultural affairs budget, let's be honest. Per capita, compared to San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Boston, it's not, where it should be. But she's been very resourceful, very creative, very innovative, very community focused, and particularly on the diverse communities that make up LA. So give her a big hand. And the other person is Eileen. You should just look at Eileen's resume. I mean, lawyer, cabinet secretary, been in public service for a very, very long time, has a set of relationships in this town as strong as anybody. To have somebody like her, of her stature, of her credibility, adds so much to everything we do. And I want to acknowledge Eileen Adams too. Give her a big hand. And then, I'm glad you started, you mentioned the saving the Cultural Affairs Department. I don't know if some of you do remember. I know you do, because I remember you at events when I was running for mayor, but they were going to eliminate cultural affairs as a department. And when I heard that, I said, what? In the creative capital of the United States of America? In a place where we already are spending less per capita than virtually any city in the country, we're going to eliminate cultural affairs? So I got together with folks to try to figure out how do we save it. And I found the money. And it's rare that, there's been a decision in the budget to eliminate something completely. No opposition on the council, except for moi. And I found the money. And then, because so many of you came into City Hall, there was just no way that once we found the money that we were going to eliminate the department. And then in the good years, we were okay. But in the worst year since the Depression, every year, I get a proposal by somebody on either my staff or on the staff of the CAO to completely eliminate funding for cultural affairs. And every time, it's like police hiring. I look at it and I said, what? Are you, we still have a TV here, right? Are you, I use an adjective before crazy. And I said, doing that? We're not gonna do that. And we've had to make some cuts, but we were not going to eliminate that fund. And even this year, there was, some like to see, maybe not, eliminate the department anymore. They knew that was a non-starter, but wanted to make certain cuts. And when we had a little extra money, I said, no, we're gonna do something else. We're gonna put more money, particularly for things like murals in a city that's known for murals. And so, whether it's been promoting LACMA and MoCA and the Getty and the Hammer, whether during my speakership years when I was funding all of the ethnic museums from Skirball to the various other, the Chinese American Museum, money for a Korean American Museum, Zimmer, I think it's Zimmer Museum. I've always felt the importance of telling the story of the diversity of LA. And, I don't know if I'm the arts mayor, to be honest. I thank you for that, and, we'll treasure it. I don't know if I'm that, but I definitely have been somebody who believes in what the arts can do for the human spirit, what it can do to lift us up and make us dream. And I'm an Aquarian, so I am a dreamer. And the critics like to say I'm a big dreamer, but I'm also on the Capricorn cusp, so I'm a doer too. I get things done. But, I'm a big believer in the institutions and the wealth of talent that we have in this town. And so, whether it's been Pacific Standard Time or any other thing happening in this town when it comes to the arts, I try to be around and present because I know how important it is, even when the city is not making the kinds of investments that we could and should. So I want to thank you for coming to City Hall. I want to thank you for 8 years. I've enjoyed every single one of them. When you're in a job like this, and particularly during tough times, you're the heat-seeking. You're where all the heat-seeking missiles come to. But I've loved it. I've loved it, and I've enjoyed working with this community. I remember what it took for us to go to Guadalajara after you get $1 million from the NEA.
2.1 million.
Or 2.1. And my entire staff did not want me to go. Did not want me to go. And, because I got, they're all trying to protect you, and they just didn't want me to go to Mexico, and particularly for that. And why are you going there? It doesn't have anything to do with the city. What do you mean it doesn't have anything to do? They're honoring the city, And, Olga knew I was going, and we went, and it was a great experience. So, and then Siqueiros, we lost that money because for administration after administration never came through with their money. And I said, look, I didn't make a lot of ado that I was the first, as you know. I'm not really, that wasn't like a big deal for me because I was born here, my mother was born here, my grandpa got here 100 years ago. I kind of didn't see myself through those lenses necessarily because I didn't grow up like that. I didn't even speak Spanish till I became an elected official. And so I didn't kind of see it. But what I did understand was, one, that the role of the first is to open up the door for the rest and to be a uniter and to make sure that there are others that can come through of whatever community. And two, I knew that somebody named Antonio Villaraigosa could not lose the money for Siqueiros and had to make the city investments for Siqueiros, and particularly because Siqueiros, what was so important about that, was whitewashed because it had the temerity and the audacity to kind of say the truth, what had happened historically. And some people didn't like it. And there's a new sheriff in town, and two things. I did like it, but the way I look at art is I don't have to like it. It's art, and I support art. And so, but I did like it. If you see, I have a Romero in my office, and it was Frank's depiction of these native people with arrows pointing to City Hall, and it was done just after Proposition 187. So I understood it. So whose office does it sit in? It sits in the office of the mayor of Los Angeles, because I think we all acknowledge what it meant to a city like this. So, you know, I just want to thank you and appreciate the work that you do, and I hope to continue to support the work. I will continue to support the work that you do. In fact, you know, I love, you know, the world I live in. When I went to Pacific Standard, this is the world where we've come to. I go to Pacific Standard Time. They asked me to speak. I had to speak at Pacific Standard Time. I take my girlfriend and her father. And for months, we were fighting whether that was a gift. I had to speak at Pacific Standard Time. They had this big show, and it cost X amount of money, and they wanted to apportion but I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm doing my job. I'm promoting, you know, Pacific Standard Time, the Getty, the city. That's the world I live in. And it's a crazy world, everybody. Because you ought to be able to support the arts and your city and your teams and I mean, that's what you do. You're a schlepper. You're knocking on doors and promoting your town. So, but I hope to continue to support the arts community, and while I humbly acknowledge this little recognition on your part, I just want to say thank you for the work that you do, for keeping this issue front and center, for supporting Olga and Eileen and the work that they do. You know, we have so many. Oh, I know another museum. I just saw you here, the African American Museum. When I was speaker, my love, all that money came from the speaker, didn't you? I love Rod Wright, but Rod Wright had to come to moi. The same with the Science Center. He had to come to moi, and I had to sign off on it. And I said, South LA, yep. West LA, yeah. Anything for LA when I was speaker. So, thank you. I know I went on and on, but I really appreciate you all and the work that you do, and the way you lift the spirit and unite us. Because I think that's what arts does too. It gives people an appreciation. Remember that exhibit you had where the Covarrubias, wasn't that cool? It talked about the African influence and Mexico. And it was like this great exhibit that nobody would have known about, you know? What people also don't know, the last Mexican governor, check him out. You see his color? Pio Pico. He traces his heritage back to Africa, okay? I mean, there's always 26 of the 44 settlers that founded LA traced on, you know, some level, full-blooded or half-blood or fourth-blood, whatever, traced it back to Africa. That's LA. That's what we've always been. And I think that's what the arts does. It unites us, it connects us, it celebrates us. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, you were so absolutely humble today, and I again have to thank you so much for all of your support. It's been a tough, hard couple years, but we've made it through the wilderness.
Yes, we have.
And we're on the uptick, and we are clearly well poised and organized to work with the next mayor and the next city council. But before you go, you did something also quite extraordinary, and you created the Poet Laureate program. And, you know,
Wait, but this is why I had to acknowledge my people. Let's be honest. Did that come? Well, actually, it did come from. That's right. That's right. It did come from me. That's right. I thought it came from them. No, that's right. No, somebody walked up to me. You know how it is in my world. Somebody comes up to you and you're doing something like really positive for them, and they're beating you up about something, and somebody started beating me up about, how come we don't have a Poet Laureate? Everybody has a Poet Laureate. And they're going on and on, and I said, okay, we'll have a Poet Laureate. So then I went to them, that's how it happened. That's how it happened.
And our Poet Laureate unfortunately wasn't able to be with us today. She's not feeling well, but we did, in her spirit, we have 2 poets on staff, and I wanted to introduce Chairman of the Arts for LA Board, Terrence McFarland, who is here to present you with a book that we created. I got it. But you stand here. This book is created in honor of your leadership because we know that you value books. And it really is about the work that you've done in ensuring that arts and culture is completely alive. Now, of course, Olga's on the front page, but you know, but we also have to.
I'm on the front cover. Olga knows how it's done.
And you are our arts mayor. Thank you.
You
I love
are
it.
our arts mayor.